E pessoal, voltamos. Fiquei. Estou empolgado. Voltando. E depois. Mas que. Fica pra amanhã. É, acho que eu voltei.
Mr. Dubois, I hear the meeting with Titus was a glowing success. That's such a relief. Titus can be a handful sometimes. Now, what can Everard Clare do for you today? The Golden Boy returns once more. Wonderful. Simply wonderful, Harry. Of course. I already knew this. My friend, the mailman, confirms the letter is on its way. You've done a great thing today. You've given the children of Martinez a bright future, and you've proven yourself someone I can trust. Someone I can really do business with. You're in my inner circle. You too, Mr. Kitsuragi. We can talk about anything. The strike, the murder, your lost gun, nothing is off the table.
Hear that? You did it the honest way. You got the real signatures, and now he's happy. Well done. I don't know. Your dirty forgery fingers aren't sure if playing this one straight was the right thing to do. We would have preferred trickery, but the choice was yours, sire, as always. You are the liege, and you're in. Finally, answers. Ask away, son.
Harry, by now you should know I would never do anything tricky like that. However, if the construction noise and limited street access makes some people consider moving, well, let's just say there'll be freshly renovated buildings near the roundabout where those poor people can finally enjoy a significant uptick in quality of life. I'm talking real affordable workers' palaces.
So the village is doomed.
You were there, you saw the place, a wasteland, there's nothing left. But mark my words, officers, we are going to reset it. Reset. I have big plans for Martinez, and they do not include humans living in those pig sheds on the coast. That land will be used for municipal buildings and commerce. Harry, imagine a youth centre supermarket church complex, employing hundreds, no, thousands of people. The coast will be lit up with enterprise and life. All those ruins out there turned into low-income housing. Harry, enough is enough. We're taking this district back. The war was 50 years ago, for God's sake. It's time to move on. Yes, I do. I got the centre, I got room for a retail complex, and in 4 years, I'll get the church too. The wheels are already turning, Harry. The wheels of progress. This post-war limbo, I won't stand for it. There are kids practically playing with their own feces out there. It cannot go on.
The pain is true. He's seen kids do worse than that. And then there will be a giant statue of him, towering above it all.
I'm not a symbolist, Harry. I'm a realist. My statue will be Martinez rebuilt. 5-story building complexes, kids off speed, and landowners in a zone hating me. That will be my statue. And yours. We're doing this together. Oh, I do, Harry. I really do. I'm gonna make the working man richer than Joyce Messier with that vote of yours. That's my job. Just like yours is to keep the peace.
A true flash of anger in him, as he thinks of her.
Order it. You know my men didn't kill him. They told you. It was a happy accident. You know how it is. No one takes the initiative. If I wanted him dead, I would have had to do it myself. And I'm too fat for that. Glad you asked. I've got type 2 diabetes because sugar and fat was all my mother had to give me and my brother Edgar when we were kids. Good job too, as it made me ugly. And ugly people, Harry, are much better at politics. Why, a war, of course.
And what do you have to gain from a war?
Victory, Mr. Kitsuragi. I have victory to gain. We are going to start a war with the Wild Pines group and win before they even realize there is a war. Harry, we outnumber them 1,500 to 1, and that's just Martinez. With all the unions in Revachol, and with public opinion on our side, we can hold off 2 men, or 15 men, or even 50 men. The more they send, the worse it's going to look for them. They made a huge mistake hiring those guys. No one likes foreign mercenaries. The leftists hate them, the fascists hate them, even the moralists think they're in bad taste. Harry, there is no strike, only war. Class war. Or, in business terms, a dawn raid. Or wait. Is that when you still pay them something? Because we won't do that. We're not going to give nothing. We're going to take Terminal B away from them. The roads, the gates, the containers, that big crane, even the damn coffee maker. We're going to take all of it for the people, and fuck Wild Pines.
The word fuck rings like a gunshot from his mouth. He doesn't swear often.
So that's why you haven't let Joyce in?
Yes. It's also why I let that midget Gaumont go. He's too nice. I can't put him through this. Plus, he knows how to get in here. That woman can't tell her tits from her arsehole. She has no chance. Tits from her arsehole. It's a local saying.
Actually, no, it's not.
Because we're friends, Harry. Besides, it doesn't matter now. You can go tell her if you want. It won't change the course of events. We have a... It's already happening. No idea. Could have been his own mother for all I know. If you ever find the guy, give him a big fat kiss from Everard Clare. Couldn't have done it without him.
He really doesn't know. A guy, huh?
I don't. I told you it could have been his own mother. I'm pretty sure it wasn't anyone from the Union. Maybe it was the mob. Or maybe he killed himself because he was a closet socialist. Truth is, I simply don't know.
He really doesn't.
2,372. Plus yours truly, of course.
2,373 is a sizable contingent for a labour organisation in Revachol.
Oh, you mean what sort of goods are going to be flowing through? How am I going to replace all the contacts we'll lose once the poo-poo hits the fan? The clients who'll ditch us? Harry, we've thought of everything.
Clients would take a well-known multinational conglomerate over a local mobster any day.
Sure, some will go, but mark my words. The company will be unpleasantly surprised to see how many of them stay loyal to Martinez and to the new competitive contracts we can offer. With renewed zeal sparked by communal ownership, the men will be shipping those containers double time. You'll be surprised to see how fast things go without parasites latching on. We'll have our hands free to pursue bold, exotic new revenue streams.
That's drugs.
Drug trafficking.
Drug trafficking? Don't be stupid, Mr. Kitsuragi. There are perfectly legal, 100% ethical chemical factories on the Samaran Isola. You don't need to be colonialist about it. All they do is produce components to keep the pharmaceutical industry running. That's people's health we're talking about. Old grannies, little babes, people with disabilities. The company thinks transporting these chemicals in bulk looks bad, has bad optics, may be illegal in some countries. The Debarders Union, however, we're all about the large volume column.
In bulk shipping, large volume column is a major buyer, a shark.
We're gonna transport the living daylights out of those materials, Harry. So your sick kid can get his Benefed and your wacky uncle doesn't have to come off risperidone.
Benefed is a children's cold medicine, usually apricot flavoured, and risperidone is used to treat severe psychosis.
And the kids on the street can get speed and pyrrolidone.
I'm an old-fashioned guy, Mr. Kitsuragi. I sometimes grab a beer with the boys, but I have no idea about the things you just mentioned. But if I were to supply ingredients for some sort of rainbow party, I would make sure the Union took a fantastic share, and I'd keep that stuff far away from Martinez.
He's basically admitting to it.
Yes, of course. And while you're doing that, please go ahead and also tell the Wild Pines. I want to hear them squeal from the indignity. Anyway, let's not focus on the sensationalism of the drug trade. This hypothetical drug trade is all anyone ever seems to be interested in. It would only be a small part of the harbour's turnover, just like the harbour is, but a small part of Martinez. Let's look at the big picture. Martinez as a whole. There are little girls out there with dreams of making music. Young mothers who want to start businesses. Models who want to walk catwalks and steel welders who want to weld steel. I'm going to unite them all into one economic body. We're going to incorporate this place to Kingdom Come. Everyone's going to be in on the wealth. And everyone's gonna pull their weight. Thank you, Harry, thank you. You have no idea how much it means to me, because in many ways, you are that working man. You have already done so much work. We're way past specific union members now. This is the big time. We're talking about the future of Revachol here, Harry. You can bother Leonard with that. He loves to run his mouth on such matters. But I'm in big-time mode, Harry. Harry, I've got to be honest with you. Your gun was found 2 days ago. Withholding this information weighed heavily on me, but it had to be done. Your gun is with an old woman. I hear she's a character, so watch out.
This must be the woman who bought the gun from Roy, the one he described as terrifying.
Yes, the same one. I see you've done your research. The pawn shop made the gun easy to track. Crazy stuff, Harry. Selling your gun like that? Wild. Anyway, the neighbors of this old woman contacted my men because they trust me and the Debardeurs Union. Apparently, she was waving it around at the entrance to her building.
Waving the gun around doesn't sound good. None of this does.
As I said, she's a character. I didn't have time for details. It sounds like she's unstable, but don't worry. No one got hurt.
We might be looking at someone with a medical history here. Watch out.
Unfortunately, I don't know anymore. You're gonna have to go in blind, Harry. But she's an old lady. How dangerous can she possibly be? Oh, and she calls herself the Pigs.
There it is again. The pigs. Like Roy said, not good at all.
I, for one, find it refreshing. Finally, someone calls themselves a pig.
It actually sounds extremely bad, but let's not give him the satisfaction.
I already have. Tonight, starting 10 o'clock, near the old fish market on the coast. The one on the boardwalk, a little past the fishing village. Be careful, Harry. I would never set you up for anything dangerous, but you did ask for this. Now, back to the fun stuff.
She will be there from 2200 hours till 0200 hours.
More fun stuff. Seems like we already have fun stuff to do.
Great, Harry, great. I think we have truly built a bridge between Martinez and Jamrock today. We have united the RCM and the Debardeurs Union. This has been so great. I'm sorry we don't have more fun things to do together, but if you ever feel like bouncing something off me, my door is always open. I'm always happy to educate and entertain you, Very nice, Harry. Is there any... Most certainly, Harry. By all means, Harry. What's on your mind?
Achar a ilha. Que eu sou o dedo trânsito. Dos pontos. Três horas. Vai dar muito tempo de fazer.
Oh, hey, mister. I knew you'd be back to talk with old Leo here. Yes, I did. Yes, I did. It's like Lady Larice said when she opened a bathhouse in the basement of my apartment building. They can only get so far before they're aching to get back. And lots of folk really did keep coming back. No trouble at all, mister. No trouble at all. It's like that old saying goes, wisdom withers if not shared. And old Leo is always up for sharing. Mr. Evrat doesn't really want me to talk to people about union guys. But who did you want to talk about? Mr. Edgar is Mr. Evrat's brother. He looks a bit younger, he does, but a very smart fellow. Very smart fellow indeed. He's away on some union business. Not even in Revershaw, they say. All kinds of places he visits. Him and his brother both do when they're on a vacation. Right now, it's Mr. Everett's turn to look after the union. But last year he spent a whole winter in South Africa. Left with the first autumn rains and didn't come back before the trees were green again.
South Safari. A lot of bulk chemical manufacturing going on there. A lot of cargo shipments being made too.
He's a union man through and through. Good guy. He's very calm, laid back, doesn't do much, talks to Everett sometimes. Honestly, I don't know what he does for us, but it must be important because everybody likes him. Yes, they do. I think that's what he does. He makes everyone feel a little better. Whoa, he's really something. He doesn't talk much to me usually, but when he does, I don't really understand most of what he's saying. Actually, I don't think he would like me running my mouth about him like that. Once he said he's a dragon to this mob fellow who came picking a fight with some union men. I think he really believes Jean-Luc was a dragon because he ran right off. Another time he almost killed another guy, but I shouldn't talk about that.
That's precisely what he is. Everard's dragon.
Who do you mean, mister?
You do realize he might just be a figment of your imagination, right?
I don't know anyone like this, mister. Maybe he's one of Mr. Everett's fancy friends. He knows all kinds of fancy people with suits and purdy carriages. Oh, Titus is a longshoreman through and through. He was born on a boat, they say. His veins are probably filled with salt water, I tell you. Nice friendly sort, old Titus is.
He's probably one of those rare specimens who are born when two drunk seamen stumble on top of each other on the deck amidst a storm so violent it flings whales around.
I'd best not. I mean, I could, but I don't think Mr. Everett would like it very much. You better ask him yourself, mister. The night guard, he was a peculiar fellow. Headstrong and proud. We didn't really talk all that much. He died recently. Something with his ticker. Sure, mister. What can Leo do for you? Oh, that one. That should be empty as far as I know. Lots of containers here have nothing in them. They're just waiting to be loaded up.
Told you.
Numerous empty wine bottles glisten in the rain. Someone partied really hard here. Well, they went through 6 bottles of potent Pilsner, 3 bottles of Commodore Red, and almost 4 packs of cigarettes. It must have been pretty hard.
Well, yes, I think we can say with relative confidence that it was you. I am, but it doesn't matter right now. Let's just move on.
This is the night watchman's booth. The name on the door reads, René Arnaud. René left his uniform neatly folded on the table. Take it. It's just there. Who cares? It's not like anyone's gonna need it.
I suppose René is not going to be needing it anymore. It's a bit too colorful for my taste, though. Fantastic. Try not to wear it with other similarly colorful clothes, okay?
The chair is not as austere as the rest of the booth. A thin grey pillow is attached to the seat, secured to the stiles by black ribbons. Stale air floods through your nostrils. Not a single mote of dust floats inside your lungs, though. The inside of the booth is immaculate. You stand and exit the booth. The file cabinet stands hundreds of documents and the same materials. You already went through all of these. Hundreds of documents and the same materials. You already went through all. Remember, Leo, all items on the list have been crossed. The drawer slides shut, smooth. The man ponders his cooking utensils and gives you a little nod, acknowledging your presence. The man says a cup. I'm pretty sure he asked you a question. He doesn't know your language. You can...
Borscht need more vodka?
Okay, so it's vodka that keeps the man happy and in good spirits. Clever move.
Of course, vodka. Now that makes a very, very special borscht indeed. Turn it up and then ask for some yourself. Turning it up seems like a dangerous idea, honestly. The cook gives you a long, disappointed look, then turns the stove off and seems to wait for you to speak.
Thanks.
You're back. Good. What can I help you with? Until you come up with something at that intersection, I'm afraid I have little else to tell you. I'm glad to hear, officer. I'm sure you'll find out just what that means soon enough.
She simply nods.
Word has traveled.
One of the tall buildings.
It appears we are being monitored every step we take, colleague. Did we have any other business here?
She's not even asking you anything. It's so easy to just say. Is what you're about to say when a cold streak runs through your heart. Once said, there is no going back, Harry. Yes. What if something happens to her and you've left one question unasked? Sneaky little question escaped your eye.
Weird. Oh no. One of the positive things to come from the revolution is the unhindered exchange of information, you see, even when it comes to trade secrets. Which isn't to suggest our talks constitute corporate espionage. Even if they did, it would be fine. But they don't, since you logged the money as a donation, and this is clearly just gossip between friends.
The lieutenant might have, but I don't remember you logging anything as anything, Harry.
Mostly so.
A takeover? If they're taking it...
Green livery, changing into red, blot by blot. Like a cancer of the blood, metastasizing.
Then we're talking about a war. Everett needs to let me into the harbor at once. We need to talk about this. They most certainly are not. Crenell has 1,000 men on their payroll. The next batch will be a platoon of 20 men and a gunship.
I've seen the Union's forces. They are better organized than these mercenaries. They also have the support of the people of Revachol West. It will take more than Crenell to wipe them out. Wild Pines will need to send more and better equipped men. Make no mistake, ma'am. I am sure you have the money. The question is, how many years and how many lives are you willing to sacrifice?
What do you suggest I do? Everything affects the decision-making process, Detective.
Officer?
For once, I don't seem to know what the right thing to do is.
Do you think it's within my authority to give it to them? Do you think I can control the board and the shell-shocked mercenaries they've sent? What will I do? Did I ever tell you how they discovered this Isola? During our reality lowdown? It may be the only break we've ever caught as a species. The last one for 400 years. The nations who colonized this Isola called theirs Muindi, the world. It was all they knew, all they thought would be. That there would be something more was a gamble, akin to another world, or life after death. The Pale was thought to be impregnable, perpetual. Irene la Navigateur, the Queen of Suren, sent 8 expeditions, one after the other, into the mass at the edge of the world. 5 of the crews did not return. 2 did.
Each of those expeditions would have been led by an admiral. Sounds like a purge. Like she was purging her political rivals.
There was no precedent for such an undertaking. People thought she was punishing the admirals, or had gone mad, or both. Until after years of trial and error, and the development of a strict psychological regime imitating the creation process of poetry.
Called Volta do Mar, or Return from the Sea.
The 8th expedition returned sane and intact. They told of a new continent of matter. They told the Queen and her counselor, Dolores Day, that the Pale had begun to condense, day after day, hour after hour, minute after minute, slowly raining down until it formed a vast ocean.
The air is cold and scented with petrichor. There are rain circles on water all around. Humidity crawls up your back like a piano trill. So does the lieutenant. His mouth is slightly open as he looks to the sky. The droplets feel warm, like spring rain.
The phenomenon has never again been encountered. For a time, the crew thought they were experiencing a hallucination. The mass hand proclaimed, "Lancielinde, Lancielinde," the signal to wake up. But they could not. They were sane and conscious, as islands began to appear on the horizon. There are 78,000 uninhabited islands in the Insulindian archipelago, officer. The freckled face of God.
You've thought it a million times.
A total shift in human comprehension of reality. On the second day, a great skua was shot down above the flagship Lizargique. The bird was preserved and brought back, along with pollen. 4 years later, the Queen's Counsellor was proclaimed Her Innocence Dolores Day, the elected world spirit. The age of humanism, internationalism, and parliamentary rule followed. We were high. On Caillou, the Pebble, the largest of the fertile, uninhabited islands of the northeast Insulindian archipelago. 4 centuries and 2 revolutions later. The first living, autonomous organism. Proof of reality. It's the symbol of Insulinde, detective. The coat of arms of the suzerain and the wings on the crest of the commune. In your defense, it is a nasty creature who plucks food from the throats of lesser birds. Yet much like Revachol, it is also magnificent and rare. Imagine the suzerain of seagulls. The nations of Mundi proceeded to discover 5 more Isolae, or they discovered us, all in the rush of the great inter-Islary reconnection. But these others weren't uninhabited. We had to kill people there, wipe out indigenous populations, gunboat economies, or they came to do the same for us, or had done to each other. But here, there was no one but the skua, the Liliat Sea, and the Blood Beach, and the River Esperance. It was the new world. The Mondials used it to amass the greatest concentration of wealth mankind has ever seen. Revachol, the suzerain. Revolution, poverty, and the mercurial rise of capitalism. It is. Soon it will be spring and everything will blossom.
The gangs will run wild, jacking motor carriages, ferrying amphetamines through Coal City. Spring is tough in Revachol.
I will take your advice, Lieutenant Reta. I will surrender Terminal B to the Union.
She puts her hand in the rain. She's silent for a second.
We will see.
Ma'am, This may well unravel property law this side of the river. If that occurs, we may never see the end of this kind of confrontation. The next time there will be 2 strikes, then 4, then 100.
What happens will happen. The age of capital has only begun. I will talk to my employers in person. We will amputate and cauterize Martinez. If you handle the situation on the ground. Yes, Mr. Clare has a 2-month head start. I can't let it grow any bigger. And I've exhausted all my options from here.
There are no employers. She's a member of the board. Probably a partner.
You are the citizens' militia. There are no superiors.
That's right, Detective. And next time, you should confer with them before you go setting events in motion.
Events are already in motion. Whether your actions accelerated or momentarily retarded their progress, even the lieutenant cannot really say.
I have not deceived you. I told you exactly who I was. Rejoice Layton. Keep the peace, and I will keep my end of the bargain. One last thing, Lieutenant Dubois. I've given the matter much thought and come to this conclusion. You're not an amnesiac. You're insane. I know, because I, too, am insane. I just hide my illness better. And I'm rich.
Vamos todos pouco.
No, Detective. No one's as insane as you.
Don't worry, madame. I am very sane.
That's it.
I'm overexposed, baby. My travels take me through the Pale dozens of times a year. I've got the longing. And I've got it bad.
Go on.
The same strict psychological regimen the 8th Admiral developed when he crossed the Pale and discovered this Isola, the Volta do Mar. It's used by inter-Easlary travelers and other troubled souls, even to this day.
You could use a little of it yourself.
Watch out for yourselves. They will strike soon.
The lieutenant watches her boat grow smaller on the bay, its white sails fluttering. With worry in his eyes, he does not know if it was the right thing to do, but he doesn't say anything. You wonder what Everard has to say about this. Slowly, the sails turn grey-blue as more oxygen gets between you.
These points are... Porém, Pedro, estou chegando, chegando, partindo, partindo, como a ilha. Como somente é o Ruby. Perdido. É. Perdi esse daqui. Tá.
You're back. Good. What can I help you with? That's the man who was killed. I'm afraid this is a discussion for once we've cleared the lynching question. Better not tie the forestay to the backstay on this. I hope there is something else I can help you with. More lessons in basic reality? My favorite part of the day. Go ahead, ask me anything. Glad to have been of assistance. The little that I know. Anything else?
She's not even asking you anything. It's so easy to just say.
Did you now? What sort of borscht is he making? The strike brew. That's a classic. And by turn up the heat, I presume you mean put more alcohol in it? Why, if I may ask, why make them more drunk? Aren't they corked enough already?
Yes, Detective. What were you hoping to accomplish with this strange thing?
Very curious. A very curious thing to do.
Truly. But that's how he operates. He just does things, man. And then talks about them, even if it's inappropriate.
What else? A referral, you mean? I take it this was for someone in the RCM. Don't answer that.
My liege, this woman has half convinced herself already. All it would take is a little nudge.
Oh my. A real door.
The lieutenant does not say anything, but you hear the nylon of his jacket rustle as he looks at you.
My. What I'm hearing is you inspected a premises because you suspected that it was involved in the narcotics trade. And in the process, you turned up some information relevant to your investigation. Only from Everard, surprisingly.
Her bartering mind cannot fathom that you didn't ask anything in return.
Frankly, what was done was not pretty at all, but neither was it illegal, and it was not for nothing. I advise you to be very selective with what information you choose to share. This may have consequences beyond our line of sight.
The company did not send mercenaries after the Union. I told you in great detail about the mistakes my side made. And of course, I accept them completely. I just hope you don't share Everart's view on things. After all, as he said, one's dead now. The Pine certainly hasn't killed any of theirs.
Let's keep it that way, she means to add, but then doesn't.
Yes, that's the talk about town. The Hardy Boys, they're called. Find the name rather amusing, honestly. How benevolent. Hopefully they'll help you sort this whole business out, if they haven't already.
We cannot discuss the specifics of an ongoing investigation, ma'am. Besides, you haven't exactly been forthcoming yourself.
That is only fair. It looks like you may untie this knot yet.
There's something in you that really likes the way she's looking at you just now.
Naturally, Detective. There are lighter topics to gossip about. Sounds like he has you running errands, Detective. A well-established dominance ritual. Where did he have you deliver it? Here? Oh no. What does that bloated hellbat want with my little cinderblock town? No, don't tell me. I don't want to know what he has in store for this place. Probably a statue. It's a statue, right? A giant statue of him. Or better yet, his twin brother. Practically the same thing, but makes him seem less like a psychopath. A youth center with Edgar Clare's statue on top of it.
The humidity crawls under your skin. Your eyes track her gaze, past the nitpicker, toward the concrete square of the nameless village off the coast of Martinaise. The concrete plates cross to meet in an abstract shape. In them, small footprints, impressions left by rubber boots. Small rubber boots.
Go ahead. Help him. Make it so. I have no power to stop him. What? 35, I think. Why? I have mutant's feet. Very small.
The prints are hers.
I should be. In my youth, I had a brief dalliance here in Martinaise. He was an older man with impossibly broad shoulders. He's probably dead by now. Even his shack is long gone. Not that it matters. These buildings are all carbon copies of one another. Yes, I was slumming it with some girlfriends of mine. We had boats and... Don't hold it against me. My paramour certainly did not. Not overly so. It's not like this was the only place we visited. Me and my girlfriends from Azon with our shiny boats. Like reavers. We told ourselves we were the worst thing to happen to the coast since the Coalition landed in '08. Imagine. First, there won't be a youth center. Whatever he's told you or the residents, it'll be something horrific, perhaps even worse than a statue. So, yes, I do. Fishery. I've been speaking with Lillian here. She gave me the idea. The infrastructure is all here, and with my connections... Sadly, it's just one of the million things I'll never get round to. I just have to accept that I'll never be the rich candy girl who goes around solving people's problems with money. Yes. I'm sad I'll never have the time, Detective. I've always wanted a dilapidating fishing village.
She is more defensive about it than usual.
Full of ghosts and ancient memories. Has this errand yielded you any... information? Weird. Oh no. One of the positive things to come from the revolution is the unhindered exchange of information, you see. Even when it comes to trade secrets. Which isn't to suggest our talks constitute corporate espionage. Even if they did, it would be fine. But they don't, since you logged the money as a donation, and this is clearly just gossip between friends.
The lieutenant might have, but I don't remember you logging anything as anything, Harry.
Of course, Detective. You can always drop by later, should something come up. Now, word has traveled, yes, but...
One of the tall buildings overlooking the roundabout. It would give them a read on the entire quarter.
It appears we are being monitored every step we take, colleague. Did we have any other business here?
Word has traveled, yes.
One of the tall buildings.
It appears we are being monitored every step we take, colleague.
Until you come up with something at that intersection, I'm afraid I have little else to tell you. But I'll try. Ask. I'm glad to hear, officer. I'm sure you'll find out just what that means soon enough.
She simply nods.
Well, technically speaking, I'm not on it right. Good.
Obrigado. Fazer escovão. So,
You're back. Good. What? Oh?
Is what you're about to say when a cold streak runs through your heart. Once said, there is no going back, Harry. Yes, come back to this later. This information could be explosive.
A takeover? Taking it.
Green livery, changing into red, blocked, like a cancer of the blood, metastasizing.
Then we're talking about a war. Everett needs to let me into the harbor at once. We need to talk about this. They most certainly are.
I've seen the Union's forces. It will take more. I am sure you have.
What do you suggest I do? Everything affects...
Officer?
For once, I don't seem to know what the right thing to do is.
Do you think it's within my... What will I do? Did I ever tell you how they discovered this Isola? During our reality lowdown? It may be the only break. The nations who call the Pale...
Each of those expeditions would have been led by an admiral.
There was no precedent for such an undertaking. Until after years...
Called Volta Domar.
The 8th expedition slowly raining down.
The air is cold and there are rain circles on water. So does the lieutenant. The droplets feel warm.
The phenomenon, but they could not...
You've thought it a million times.
A total shift. 4 years later, the Queen's Counsellor was proclaimed Her Innocence Dolores Day, the elected world spirit. On Caillou, the first living autonomous organism. In your defense, it is a nasty creature who plucks food from the throats of less... The nations, but these others, there was no one but the Skua. The Liliat Seya. Revolution. Poverty. It is.
The gangs will run wild, jacking motor carriages, ferrying them...
I will take your advice, Lieutenant Reta.
She puts her hand in the...
We will see.
Ma'am, this may well unravel property.
What happens will happen. The age of capital has only begun. I will talk to my employers in person. We will amputate and cauterize. Yes, Mr. Clare has a 2-month head start.
There are no employers. She's a member of the board.
You are the citizens' militia. There are no superiors.
That's right.
Events are already in motion. Whether your actions accelerated or momentarily retarded their progress, even the lieutenant cannot really say.
Here I am. I am the face, and I'm here to answer. Keep the peace, and I will keep my end. One last thing. I know, because I, too, am in... No, detective.
Don't worry, madame. I am very sane.
I'm overexposed, baby. My travels take me through the Pale dozens of times a year. The same strict psychology...
You could use a little of it yourself.
Watch out for yourselves. They will strike soon.
The lieutenant watches her boat grow small, with worry in his eyes. He does not know if it was the right thing to do. You wonder what Everard has to say about this. Slowly,
Assim mesmo. Não, mas... Feito de entrar aqui.
So, the ship has sailed. Did you see it? I know you did. Tell me, what did it look like as it grew smaller and smaller when that mainsail dropped behind the horizon? Did it look like a germ? Did it look like a piece of bacteria?
his jaw is clenched and his quadruple chin is quivering with hatred. This is decades of hatred speaking right now. You get a sinking feeling. Oh my God, you've been played.
That this is a takeover? That I want a war? God, I hope you also told her about the drug trade. They absolutely hate getting their hands dirty with that. You can kill 1 million people, but if you do something the police doesn't like, well, then you're out of the yacht club. Goodbye, you inhuman fuck. Harry. I can't see into the future. We are all playing by ear on this planet. I had no idea she'd react so strongly. I did. I knew the negotiations would go better with police officers telling her horror stories from inside the harbour. It's scarier this way. Turns out it was a magnificent strategy. I never thought it'd so fundamentally fuck her up. No, no, Harry. What we have is real. We're working men. This here is real.
In there, under pillows of winter fat, his stress-ridden heart still beats furiously.
Harry, I bugged her cabin. I bugged her whole boat. I had cameras surveying her boat. Hell, I even wanted to bug that thermal cap, but my boys advised against it.
They must have done it while Joyce was busy questioning the locals.
Not me personally. I had guys recording and processing this information for me. Hell no! They'd fuck it up. They can't do anything right. I mean my real boys. My special task force boys.
Where are these boys?
They sure as hell aren't hanging out in the open with beers in their hands for the cops to question. They're pros, Mr. Kitsuragi. Harry, you made a conscious decision to relay that information to her. You could have kept it for yourself. Against you? Oh, Harry, I'd like to think I used it for you. Of course she did. Rich people have the best stories about all the interesting things they've done and seen, all the beautiful places they've been to. It's just sentimentalism. She can afford to be sentimental, and she can afford to lose as well. She's not insane. What did she tell you? No, she's not. She's a sentimental alcoholic. They all are. Never take a drop and you'll be 8 laps ahead of those upper-class winos. Just like old Mr. Clare here. Try it. You'll be a real super detective. I can see that, Harry. Alcohol has left its marks, but you're doing better than when I first saw you. Rich man is shitting himself. The working class sober. What was always going to happen? We take the harbour and she fucks off to Ozon, uncorks a bottle of wine, calls her partners, and says they need to distance themselves from this nasty business before the big shit spinner splashes everyone. Only difference is the Union doesn't have to lose 2,000 men to machine gun fire. Harry, when I need to tell people, I might as well do it myself. That's why I like initiative, and inspiring initiative. It's more natural that way.
And safer too. You never know who you can trust.
You knew something big, and you wanted to see what happens when you tell someone. So you told her. Anyone who's ever been close to power will tell you. Inside information is the sweetest thing in the world. It's better than money. It's better than pussy. Money only makes you special for some salesmen. Pussy only makes you special for yourself. Information makes you special for all mankind. It's the ticket to history. Right on, Harry. What you did was participate in history. When history calls, you have to pick up. You had no choice. None of us ever do. A hard disco cop like you, I knew you weren't one to resist temptation.
You know what, detective? I am going to leave this out of my report, and I suggest you leave it out of yours too.
Just look at the three of us. The 3 careless boyaderos. Good times, good times. Okay. Hell yes it is. Now there's a whole lot of work to do. For me and for you. I suppose there was a reason you came here, so let's get to it. What can I help my best friend and comrade with today? What? Did I? Well done then, Harry. I like not knowing about it, and I'm sure you made the right call. I spend the whole day delegating tasks, and it's a great relief to see people taking initiative. I don't even want to know what all of that means. Brew, shady, alcohol, turned off. I'm going to let the world surprise me. Mr. Dubois, a pleasure as always. You don't have to sit down this time, since you've already sat on that chair. I'm always happy to educate and entertain you, my friend. So, what's on your mind? Very nice, Harry. Is there anything else? Most certainly, Harry. Nothing brightens my day like brainstorming these things with you. By all means, Harry. What's on your mind?
Resolva negociar com milhões. Agora. Vamos deixar assim.
An old door, worn by elements, guards the depot. The wind has blown a sand dune in front of it. Just dead and dying.
I was just thinking what a nice evening it is for taking part in a murder investigation. Oh.
Did you take the documents?
No, of course not. As I said, it would have been too risky for me to use those documents anyway. My employer gave them to me. In truth, I should have destroyed them.
She doesn't seem to be lying. She's genuinely spooked by their disappearance.
Yes, I am. Regardless of who took the documents. It was probably just an accident. I was worried I'd been too careless with the latch. The documents were probably just washed away. I was just thinking, what a...
Was it?
Oh, sorry, officer. What?
Host almighty. He's a total bummer now.
Oh, hey man, it's good to see you. Goodbye, officer. Yo, man, what's on your mind?
Enter.
Yo, man, what's on your mind?
Aggressive. Monotonous.
Yo, man, what's on your mind?
Dedicated. Hyperactive. Unified. You will have to add something of your own to understand this list of loosely formed qualities called hardcore. You need your own entry. Make it. Test your limits. Surpass them. Dance till you drop. Dance till you die, if you must. Jumping around, as this sort of music requires, is actually a taxing physical activity and should be dignified with a sports suit. Predictable, but solid.
Chicas. Oh no.
Welcome back.
PC.
Yes, what is it?
Taste. Taste of me. One.
The swallow, you mean? What about it? Yes, that's what led me here. But I suspect it might be something a bit more complicated than that.
Exactly. What does it mean? Up to now, what do you think it is?
Easy. You measure it by the world around it.
You measure it by its surroundings.
Hydrotransducers. So that's what those water basins are. Devices for recording sound through water.
But honestly, it's not progressing very well. Great. Thanks.
One. That's basic. Schedule perfect. 266. Fine. Видимо. Дейзо. Get out.
An old door, worn by elements. guards the depot. The wind has blown a sand dune in front of it. The door...
Come on.
Hey, Tequila. Good to see you. So what's happening? Yeah.
He says it like it's obviously your name. Like you call... Good. These people know your true name. Looks like it has preceded you, Mr. Sunset. More on that later.
That's harsh. I'm like 3 or maybe 4 years into mine. Wait, no. Make it 5. Things aren't going super well for Idiot Doom Spiral either. Haven't found those keys yet, haven't won that great piece of ass back. No word from my business buddies.
Idiot Doom Spiral, huh? This is bound to be a good, high-concept conversation. At last.
Can't really remember seeing any women after losing my keys.
It's a touchy topic. He hasn't got laid in ages. He really has no idea who this Ruby is, sire.
We are saving the world.
Please! Please don't call! Don't call!
Okay, we're drinking. We're drinking alcohol. That's what we're doing. I tried to save the world once, a long time ago, with enterprise, creativity, and willpower. But that didn't work out. So now, it's a pirate's life for me. It's you. You're Tequila Sunset. We've met before. Don't you remember?
No, you sure don't.
Aha. Do you want to know how Tequila Sunset came to be?
Tequila Sunset. Something ominous there.
You think you feel bad now. Wait till you've heard the story.
No. You need the wisdom.
Let me take a sip to moisten up my chords. Tequila Sunset rolled into Martinez last Friday. And by Tequila Sunset, I mean you. The man, the myth. Hey, let's not jump ahead of ourselves. This is your story. Stop interrupting. You got here on Friday to solve a case, hoping to be the early bird who gets the worm. And by the worm, I mean the buzz. Because as far as I know, all you did was get piss drunk. Word on the street is you went around the local hostel telling people that you're a police officer, and that it would be really fucked up if you shot yourself in the head right in front of them. That's pretty high concept, if you ask me.
It is. Does that sound like something you'd do? Yeah, probably. The lieutenant's brow is furrowed. He's listening as casually as he can.
It was a late Saturday night when we, the Union of Moribund Alcoholics, were getting our drink on. Nothing remarkable about this. We get our drink on 24/7. Makes everything warm and glowy. I trust you know the feeling. One moment we hear the sound of a motor carriage revving up somewhere on the plaza, followed by a series of dings and bangs.
Do you remember the sound of wood cracking? The billboard?
Naturally, loud noises pique the interest of anybody owning a pair of ears. That's just the reality we're in.
You can't get off now. You have to stay.
I think that we should let him continue with the story.
That's right. I let you finish all of your stories that night. Anyway, there was a brief silence. A gasp of silence, if you will. Followed by a real commotion. We heard the carriage careening towards the coast at top speed. Sounded like someone jumped the canal. We grabbed our brewskis and rushed to the jetty. Never underestimate the speed of an alcoholic.
3 men are standing on a wooden platform extending out from the shore of a dilapidated fishing village. Their cheeks red, spirits high, beers in hand, eyes glazed over.
What we saw was a sight to behold. A beat-up police carriage containing you. Right there on the beach. You revved the engine and screamed at the top of your lungs. "The time hath come!" So, naturally, being the curious cat I am, I asked what time hath come, to which you replied, "The time hath come for tequila sunset, the end of all things!" Yeah, looms. Why not? Then you jammed the pedal and plowed right off the jetty and through the ice.
The muscles in your right leg tense up. Your hands cramp on the steering levers.
We ran towards the ice whilst you crawled your way out, miraculously unhurt, covered in seaweed and shit, like some kind of sea monster. When we finally got there, you were sitting on the beach crying. You said that your badge and uniform were in the car. It was too late to get in there, though. The carriage had sunk too deep.
In this way, you and your motor carriage have a lot in common.
Recognizing a brother in need, We offered our condolences and invited you to party with us, which you naturally agreed to. We asked about the whole Tequila Sunset thing, and you told us it was your name now and insisted that we all call you that from then on. I'm not sure. I think you were the event. Tequila Sunset. You know, as opposed to a tequila sunrise, which is long gone. No, that's just what your mother called you. Your real name is Tequila Sunset. Just embrace it, brother. Hours. It was an all-night drink-a-thon. Then, at some point, I think it was Sunday morning, you got belligerent and wanted to talk about Revacholian women. How they're beautiful and also whores and so on. How one of them fucked you real bad. After a short while, you crossed the event horizon, looked sullen, got up, and left without saying anything.
Wow, that's quite a story.
Yeah, I bet Tequila's a fucking legend around the precinct. You must be proud to work with him.
If you only knew.
You were pretty vague about it, but you kept saying you got fucked real hard, and that we've all been fucked too.
Please, don't open that door.
No one's fucked me. I do the fucking around here. Abigail!
It seemed pretty painful, to be honest with you. If I had to guess, I'd say you're still working through some shit. Beside your gun and your badge, you said something about your hope or heart or something. To be honest, the details are a little hazy. In retrospect, I guess you lost your motor carriage too? That's a big one. You told us that they were a bunch of fucking losers whose main interest was cramping your style. No specifics, though. It was more about you that night. You were the star of the show. Yeah, you said it was no biggie and that you'd solve it in no time. And that you didn't need anyone to do it. You're doing it solo now.
A lot of cops go solo and hermit once they reach that level of alcoholism.
Yeah, you kept talking about how the coal mine owners were fucking us all over, just like that woman fucked you. I didn't agree with you, by the way. The spectral hand of the market makes sure everyone gets exactly what they deserve. You kept calling yourself a goddamn superstar who'd cleared 501 cases.
As you've already determined, the actual number is 216. But what's a little embellishment between friends?
No thanks to the squares at the precinct, as you put it. It's a hard thing for a man to confront his past. That's why I avoid mine at all costs. Whoop-de-doo. So now I'm a fucking storyteller. Right, why not? Better than a beach bum. It depends, really. Are you willing to help me out?
The gleam in his eyes and the slouch in his posture is so incredibly familiar. You might get scammed here.
No, the reality of the situation requires a rather modest contribution. A little motivational package. I don't want it, man. I need it. Can't tell stories without it. Dry stories are boring, you see? So, have you got anything for good old idiot Doom Spiral? A bottle for a story. Seems fair to me. Classy.
Hey, Spiral Boy, you gonna share that? Don't call Abigail!
Shut up, guys. I'm telling a story here. Something happened to you. Something happened to me, too. My actual name is George, but around here, you already know. I was once a reasonably high net worth individual. A founder/junior partner at a high-concept creative services agency. When my story begins, I had just landed a major contract with an insurance firm. I used the profits from my agency to finance what I called a cultural incubator. Abstract value generation, value per person, high-concept stuff. I developed the paradigm, worked within the paradigm, but the burden of leadership weighed heavily on me. So I went jogging every so often to keep myself sane.
That's right. Getting a good run-in is important to maintaining your physical and mental health. Speaking of, when's the last time you did your laps, pork chop?
"22 full-time employees, an all-star team, a potentially historical set of individuals. Worrying about them often kept me up well into the morning hours. It did. With my trusty Sansarique tracksuit, I felt like I could conquer the world. But now dreams are worn thin, much like my tracksuit. One day I left on my evening run. As you may know, it's impossible to clear your head when you're distracted by the sound of keys jangling in your pockets.
His eyes are clouded, his dilated blood vessels encircling his irises like stinging brambles. His eyes are your eyes.
So I removed the key ring and put the keys for the front gate and the apartment into different pockets to stop the jangling, you see? At least, that was the plan. I was halfway done with my usual lap when it started to rain. The reality situation became very wet, very quickly. Wet, okay? It was raining really hard. I made my way back home and discovered that I didn't have the key to the front gate. I'd mixed it up with the key to the letterbox, which was useless. Naturally, the situation required me to climb over the gate, which I did. There was no climbing down because I slipped and landed on my ass. Ouch, indeed. Reality was looking rather grim just then. Me lying on my ass in a mud pit in the middle of a heavy shower. But when life knocked me down, I always got up. So I made my way across the yard. Standing in front of my apartment door, fumbling with my pockets, I realized that I'd also forgotten my apartment key. I wish I were, Tequila. I wish I were. Instead of my apartment key, I'd taken the key to the office. I rang my neighbor's buzzers. It was late, and most of them didn't even answer. Those who did assumed I was trying to sell them something and hung up before I could even explain the situation. People are naturally wary of ad men, you see. One moment someone chats you up, 5 minutes later you've bought a box of edible lingerie and a strap-on. I don't begrudge them, especially since I was known to be one of the best. Just then, I experienced a moment of clarity. I still had the key to my office. I could wait out the storm there. But when I reached my office, I remembered that I'd asked one of my producers to change the locks that day. And since I hired only the best, he'd already done it, and I couldn't get in. Anyway, long story short, life spiraled out of control. I haven't gotten into my apartment for years, and my girlfriend left me because she didn't want to date a homeless man. The company, well, you see where I'm going with this. So, now you've heard my tragic tale. What do you think? Like nothing you've ever heard, huh? Tequila, I've thought about this series of events for a long time. If there was anything else to it, I would have thought of it by now.
Why didn't you go to the authorities?
Well, at one point they came to me, but, you know, I didn't have any ID on me, so they tossed me in jail for 2 days. I can't say it increased my faith in the RCM. No offense, gentlemen. The hobo lifestyle definitely has some perks. Not having to pay rent, first and foremost. Not being responsible for 20 other people is nice, too. But that charm wears off pretty quickly. Before you know it, you're wearing a shit-stained tracksuit and spending your days picking tear. Good fucking question, Tequila. If I knew the answer, you think I'd be hanging out on a beach in this formerly premium but now extremely dirty two-piece lycra tracksuit? I used to own my reality situation. My business buddies and I had our own creative services agency. I had a nice apartment, an even nicer piece of ass. But somehow it all got away from me. Now I can't hang on to anything. Just last week I stole this nice new jacket, but then I lost it too. The only things I haven't lost are these two drunks. My agency, man. The Boom Boom Room. Our concept was combining high art with the lowest forms of marketing. The color red, breasts, and oil painting. I convinced my partners to reinvest some of our profits in an even more high-concept cultural incubator called Thin Air. The artists were happy, the clients were happy. I was financing a group of poets in East Rebishal who were developing a new universal poetic language. But then it all went to shit.
Sounds intriguing. What say you, Art Cop? If it sounds like it makes no sense, that's because it doesn't.
Well, you know, sex sells. That's the first rule of advertising. Maybe you're right. Who knows? Maybe we were behind the curve? We were fucking rich, though. That much I know. What? You've never seen 100% Lycra before? Go on. Feel that primo material.
You really shouldn't touch it.
Pretty nice, huh? This might be one of the last of its kind. Should probably be in a museum, honestly.
Good God. It's nearly impossible to describe how dirty this texture is. It's like rubbing two jellyfish skins together. You feel about 15% less human for having touched it. Randomized trials have also found Lycra, ETN, to be associated with a number of exotic, highly malignant cancers, so you also have that to look forward to. And then there's the smell, but you don't even want to think about that.
Wow, you're lucky. You never let me feel it.
That's because your paws are fucking filthy, Rosie. We're right next to the bay. You could wash them any time. My fellow members of the Union of Moribund Alcoholics, they're exactly what they look like.
Hey, Theater! You want to buy speed?
Shut the fuck up, Rosemary. He's a cop, remember?
I thought you were a coco.
And this abs. So yeah, that's basically us. We drink together. Tequila, it's a verifiable tragedy. Was practically brand new. Sure, it didn't really go with my Lycra threads, but it did get you a lot less. Say, you're a detective, right? Maybe you can hold Doom's spiral out. Solve the case of the missing jacket. What do you say, Tequila? Holy shit! Tequila, how did you... Never mind, I don't care. Let me see the jacket. Let me see. What? This isn't my jacket. My jacket was beautiful. This is fucking filthy. What am I supposed to do with this? I'm not taking a disgusting pile of hobo rags. I may be an irrecoverably king order, but I've still got standards. Either bring it back the way it was before, or find a dumpster to burn it in.
You know, despite the one looks like the jacket itself as stain resistant, it may just need good scrubbing.
I do, but as you see, my fuel tank is running quite low, if you catch my drift. Cottonmouth is keeping my tongue imprisoned. You too, Tequila Sunset.
Good to see you, friend. Why have you all set up for you, buddy boy? So what do you want? I've got smokes. They're cheap. Very cheap. I've got pills now. Great deal. You won't get a better deal on that, kid. Spirits I can let go for 300 real. I also have speed. And by speed, I mean amphetamine. See, friend, it's real valuable. Worth every real, if you catch my drift. Got it from a bit of a business venture. You know, it's funny, actually.
He's finding it difficult to focus his watery gaze.
What?
Keep him talking.
This guy. Oh, this is medicinal spirits. The good stuff. Got it from the doctor's office. I got one of those scientific ampules a few months ago. Torpedo, they call it. It's supposed to keep a man from taking a drink. Didn't stop me for shit, that's for sure. 5 lemons with half a pack of butter and you're good to go. It really isn't. In a week, the goddamn kidneys started giving me all kinds of hell. Finally, the missus took me to a private doctor's office. Not a charity, the real thing. Those arseholes charged me 4 real to remove the damn thing. But I came out on top after all. But the idiots left me alone in there. Now, I used to teach high school biology. I know what doctors use to preserve dead things. Like 3 cans of this blue medicinal stuff from the back room. Threw the snakes out and voila! What's left is this beautiful blue stuff. 98.7%, almost pure alcohol.
Snakes or intestinal worms?
2 I already sold to these fine gentlemen here. But this last one is yours for 3 real, if you want it.
Don't say it.
Yeah, be careful. It's extremely flammable. One spark and the entire city of Revachol is wiped off the map.
Feels like someone set a mustard field ablaze right inside your nose, then drenched it in tear gas. Your nose is a singular source of pain, but at the same time you don't remember the last time you felt so alive. In all fairness, that might be attributed to the retrograde amnesia.
So, what's the deal, friend? Want the spirits or not? 3 real and it's yours, friend. The deal of a lifetime.
Well done. You got it. That's a much more reasonable price right there. Makes sense now.
Just make sure to enjoy that one, friend.
Son, you will not kill yourself with this. Not today. So we're going to store this as a sellable item. Go sell it at the pawn shop for a profit.
Oh, the system's been good to old Rosemary here, and I'm milking her like a bitch goat in the backyard. You see, friend, man makes his own luck, and I made mine real good. Got my hands on 3 bottles of liquor exquise, sold 2 to the fellows around here, and immediately invested the profit. Bought cigarettes, bought beer, even bought a bit of speed. And look at me now, I've got everyone on my hook.
I can't see it.
Hook 'em and cook 'em, huh? You want to buy something? Let's... In the civilized world, it's a cut...
Tequila sunset. What's in a name?
Hey, Spiral Boy, you gonna share that?
Don't call up.
Shut up, guys. I'm telling a story. I was once a reasonably high net worth individual. So you don't want...
Give me a moment. What? No. Nobody tells me anything.
Would she understand if they did?
If it ain't my business, I'll keep my nose out of it. Oh, think we'd all be better off if people kept their noses to themselves.
Hello again, officers. Have you come to admire my mural?
Yes?
You hear someone walking around, a poor communard from the looks of...
Do I have to open the door? Do you have a warrant? I'm not obligated to open the door if...
Let's go. We don't have...
Later then, entering this door seems a physical challenge. It's generally easier to do things if you have literally any reason. This door is made of metal and appears to be. No one answers.
Let's go. There's nothing to do here for us anymore. Yes? What about me? No.
Your brain sends the signal to your lips, but they refuse the order. Something is paralyzing them. You're pretty sure it has. The eyebrow is exercising psionic control over you.
Something the matter, detective?
What's going on? It's like you're a puppet in his hands. The lieutenant relaxes his eyebrow, and you seem to regain control of yourself.
What do you mean? I have no idea what you're talking about.
The lieutenant's conceptualization skills must be rather rudimentary. The lieutenant is a police officer of the old school. His concerns are material and extrinsic. But this isn't an old school case.
So what? That makes you the new school? God spare us. For real detective work, nothing beats a good notebook by your side.
The lieutenant produces his small blue notebook and idly thumbs through a few pages. We all have our different mediums. His is written. You're super lucid, yet psychedelic. You don't need office supplies to connect to your nervous system. You're special.
That's correct.
That makes him a vinoclad. Completely uncopped material, if you say so yourself.
Are they? They are mostly just cumbersome. Good. Let's change the subject.
A plaster cast bust depicts a middle-aged man with impressive...
Whoever lives here, there aren't many communists around. Not after the revolution.
You hear someone walking a poor communard.
Do I have to? Do you have a warrant?
Let's go.
Later then, it's generally easier to do things if As you approach the metal grill, you can hear several voices having what appears to be an animated discussion. This must be it. Beyond this door lies the beating heart of radical communism in Martinez. Somehow, the night air softens the smell of trash and sea brine. As the breeze pulls through the canvas like a shuttle through a loom, you catch a hint of something unexpected, something earthy, warm, and burnt. The acrid smell of failure. No, that's just slightly burnt coffee, a smell you would recognize anywhere.
Just look at these pigs sniffing about after hours. Must have slipped my mind. You know how it goes.
The metal grill is cool to the touch. You notice the lieutenant is looking uncustomarily anxious. His posture is rigid. His right hand hovers near the zipper of his jacket.
Oh, I'm fine. I was practically born to infiltrate underground communist cells. Which is just to say, we should be prepared for any eventuality.
You can make out at least two separate voices. Two voices, both male, approximately early 20s.
Careful with those now. I have it. It's going to work. I can feel it.
The clang of metal reverberates all along the scaffolding. The voices coming from the other side fall silent. A pair of frightened ears cowering in some dark crevice of their burrow.
Who's there? Is that you, White? I'm calling you back already. Get out of here, traitor.
For a moment, silence. A slight sensation of static electricity as before a storm. A miniature conference is taking place inside, and you are the subject.
What's the passphrase?
There's no response. You begin to wonder whether they've slipped out some back way. No, they're still there. You can feel them back there.
Alright. The key taped to the back of the door frame. Just make sure you put it back when you're done, or we'll all be locked out. And don't wash the concrete. It just kind of falls away, in places.
Charmant. After you, detective.
Have fun at your underground meeting, pig. Hope it's a blast.
Advanced race theory. Everything is calm in the eye of the race storm. Your mind is lucid and bright. The mind-bending phylogenetics appear more distant and, to be fair, a little ridiculous. The great race mystery has cleared up. All that's left to do is verbalize your thoughts. Go and talk to Measurehead about your newly found insights. The two young men are either oblivious to or ignoring your entrance. Their attentions are fixed on whatever it is they're stacking in the middle of the floor. Matchboxes, it appears.
I think it's holding Alexis.
It is.
It's definitely not holding. Those matchboxes are stacked so haphazardly, it's like they want them to collapse.
Careful, careful. Damn, hardly any difference. You two, you are late.
They should know the meeting starts at 10 p.m. sharp.
Just a moment. Could this be the former owner of a certain jacket you acquired recently? Don't let them see you flustered, sire. Play along.
Hey, Esteban, isn't that your jacket?
What a coincidence. You two have the same jacket. What are the odds? Based on the prevalence of white Sarah Mauritian suits in Martinaise, extremely low.
It certainly looks like my jacket, Alexis. Where did you get that, gendarme? Yeah, I'm sure you did. That's real Sarah Mauritian twill. Only old Sarah Mauritian communists and drug smugglers wear those anymore.
He is neither of those, of course. He is simply a poor student putting on airs. Also, he doesn't have the shoulders to fill out such a jacket.
See, Uli? It's just like Mazovrot. How does it go again?
Those committed to the rights of property are those most apt to violate them.
Just a minute. Steban, Ulixis, why do those names ring the faintest of bells? Probably because they're the real names of Nazteb and Exilus, the authors of that so-called essay about Tip-Top Tournay you read. You should get to the bottom of this when you have the chance.
I assumed it was Maurice who broke into my room to play a trick on me. I didn't think I'd actually been raided by the RCM. Absolutely not. You have to keep it. Can you imagine the look on Maurice's face when he finds out the RCM has been kicking my door down?
He'll shit himself. Positively.
And now they've shown up in force to break up our meeting.
Something tells me these young men are not very experienced with law enforcement.
The RCM wants to join us?
My partner, of course, is acting in a strictly personal capacity, not as an official representative of the RCM.
Interesting. Does that mean you've done the reading?
Uh-oh. No one said anything about reading. You'll just have to wing this one.
No, detective. The only reading I've been doing is right here.
He seems to be wagging the notebook at you, as though he suspects you may have forgotten why you're here.
I have not had time to seek out pretentious communist book clubs, nor have I done their reading.
It doesn't sound like they've done the reading, Steban.
Well, this is getting awkward. I'm not sure what you're expecting to find here then.
Maybe they can explain themselves.
In the most generous sense, I would say we're cultivating revolutionary consciousness.
Yes, that's probably the best way to describe it.
But more specifically, we are running a reading group. The most rigorous and theoretically advanced materialist reading group in Martinaise.
Comrade Steban is a great discussion leader. One of the best at the university.
It's obvious they take this group of theirs extremely seriously. Whatever you do, don't compare it to a common book club. Yawn. Can you imagine anything duller than a bunch of binoclards yanking each other's knobs?
We have been known to get into some spirited debates, but it's always in service of our larger intellectual and ideological project.
Precisely. We are not interested in senseless parroting. We like to read critically.
Within the contours of Mazovian historical materialism, of course.
Huh. As though you can call that problem teaching.
One thing you learn quickly at university is that you're not going to find a real education in any lecture hall or discussion seminar.
We are post-attendance, basically.
Exactly. The only worthwhile part of the so-called École Normale de Revachol is the library. That's where we've made our greatest critical strides. We study all the foundational texts of Mazovian theory, of course. Just last week we finished the second volume of Puncher and Watman's Innocence of Capital.
Truly extraordinary.
And before that we spent 6 weeks on State and Plasm.
Uh-oh. You can feel your attention span rapidly deteriorating.
We've also read Wertmüller's The Megastructure of History, and before that, Real and Reality.
Communist theorists love puns, in case that wasn't obvious.
Hablas une paix infernale.
The original Fisdale translation, not that watered-down revisionist garbage.
These two deserve the Order of Honor for bullshitting. There's no way they've actually read all this stuff.
Obviously.
But, of course, our special emphasis is on the theories of Ignaz Nilsson and his followers, especially the inframaterialists. You're not familiar with him? It's pretty advanced stuff. You may not be ready for it yet, gendarme. Only Krasmazov's most trusted lieutenant, the evangelist of the revolution, and the founding father of the People's Republic of Samara.
It's hard to overstate how unimpressed he is that you've never heard of this world historical individual.
He also happens to be the greatest communist theorist after Mazov himself. It was Nilsson who first postulated the existence of ideological plasm, which forms the basis of inframaterialist theory.
Plasm, huh? Sounds like a hell of a drug. You might want to ask about it. The young man sighs. His companion looks about furtively.
Lynching? No. We're not an operational cell.
We think of ourselves as more of an intellectual vanguard.
Our stance? What? Do you want to know if the SRV has established a party line on the lynchings in Martinaise?
Though historically speaking, the SRV has supported direct action against right-wing paramilitary squads, especially when they are doing the Indo-tribes' dirty work.
Good point. So as a provisional matter, I can say we support it.
Are they being sarcastic? You feel like you're caught in some elaborate joke labyrinth, but it's impossible to see your way through.
No, we're an independent organization. We acknowledge and respect the union's efforts, but our interests are more theoretical than Mr. Clare's.
He speaks the truth.
That's easy. Crime is simply the inevitable expression of the injustice and incoherence embedded within capitalism itself.
Delivered with the smug assurance of a schoolboy reciting a maxim he's committed to memory.
It's a symptom, in other words, not a cause.
His companion can barely suppress a yawn.
No, unfortunately, the communards were hunted down and killed nearly to a man. All that's left of them are bones and old rifles.
His companion's eyes widen as you hold up the ancient weapon.
Yes, like that one. I wonder how many of these are still lying around in cellars or sealed up behind the masonry. Can I hold it? It's heavier than I was expecting.
The attitude of a priest bearing one of the holy relics of his faith. Though it is long out of service, its power is evident to him. When he's finished, he returns the rifle to you with a nod of appreciation.
What do you mean? This is the reading group. We're in something of a rebuilding phase.
Some of our former comrades didn't have the ideological fortitude our work demands.
Intellectual attrition is maybe the best way to describe it. Felix said he couldn't keep up with the reading on top of his classwork. And Susanna wanted to read text other than Mazovian theory. Like novels, if you can believe it.
Imagine the audacity of wanting to read a novel in a reading group.
We've tried recruiting new members, but unfortunately the current intellectual climate is pretty hostile to inframaterialist thought. These days, if you're on the left, the ascendant schools are the Gottwaldians and their iconoclasts.
Don't forget about Maurice and the turnips.
Right. Then there is the whole turnip debacle.
Whatever this turnip business is about, one thing is perfectly clear. These young students have a much deeper understanding of communism than you do. You could learn a thing or two from them. If you can convince them, you're one of them.
They're the most depressing school of communism. They love writing long books with a patina of Mazovian theory to cover up their cheap psychologizing.
A gang of cheap psychologists and intellectual midgets. Typical Gottwalders, in other words.
It's okay for Uli to say that, because his dad is from Gottwald. the Gottwald school believe that intellectuals as a class are incapable of sparking revolutionary change. So all they can do is critique capitalism from inside itself.
In other words, they have lost faith in their own relevance.
That's why they spend all their time smoking cigarettes and writing long works of criticism that make you want to commit suicide. It is miserable. That's probably why they're always committing suicide. You see, the Gottwald school look like communists. They talk like communists. But scratch the patina and you'll see beneath that they're just depressed liberals who've read too many books. For starters, they love talking about beans. That's right. Iconoclasts are obsessed with beans. They love thinking about beans. They love counting beans. But most of all, they love building models to predict how many beans there'll be in the future.
Nota bene, iconoclast is an extra pejorative form of the already pejorative name, Mazovian economists, a moderate school of Mazovianism which advocates the gradual transition to communism through carefully managed economic modernization rather than violent social revolution.
They're by far the most bean-centric school of communism.
If only. They've got all the beans accounted for in their asset sheets, their quarterly budgets, their future projections. But for some reason, there are never enough beans to go around. So we've just got to cut our bean rations in half.
And next thing you know, there are budget cuts, so now we've got to cut the bean rations in half again. You see, iconoclasts claim to be communists, but in reality they're just liberals with hard-ons for spreadsheets. Of course not. The only people who actually call themselves liberals are mouth-foaming reactionaries.
Basically indistinguishable from fascists. You'd need an X-ray machine to tell the difference.
Cindy is... how to describe her role?
Something of an ideological auxiliary, perhaps.
Yes, that's exactly how I would put it. And naturally, we support her radical counter-liberal aesthetics.
But she refuses to submit an essay, so we can't call her a member of the group per se.
That doesn't stop her from using the room for studio space, of course. It's an unfortunate story. You see, our ex-comrade Maurice is something of an economist.
He's studying macro and microeconomics.
Wow, a real intellectual, it sounds like.
Right. So a few weeks ago we were discussing the extra physical capabilities of the revolutionary state, and Maurice said, what were his exact words, Ulex's?
It was unbelievable. He said, turnips don't care if they are grown by communists, moralists, or Vulcan. They grow just the same.
Basically, he was rejecting the whole foundation of inframaterialist theory.
What is this inframaterialist business they keep blathering about? You've never heard of anything like it.
Simply that under suitably revolutionary conditions, crop yields naturally increase relative to non-revolutionary crops, which Maurice somehow has the gall to deny.
Susanna said that he has been hanging out with some non-communists lately.
For us, the question boiled down to, if you don't even accept the basic ideas of Nielsen and inframaterialist theory, why are you in the reading group? Of course you do. It's pretty basic stuff. Well, it wasn't so much that he was expelled.
He just quit coming. We haven't seen him around for weeks.
Go ahead.
The young man frowns at the little pile of boxes on the floor.
Nothing, just messing around until the meeting started.
They're watching those matchboxes awfully intently for two guys who are just messing around. It's almost as though they were trying to create the most unstable structure they could, with predictable results.
You've read our article.
That I did not expect.
The energy in the room has shifted ever so slightly in your favor. They're afraid they've somehow embarrassed themselves in front of you.
Well, don't keep us on tenterhooks. What did you think of the essay?
Time to meet these two on the intellectual battlefield. Why don't you show off those highly developed critical faculties of yours?
Well, of course that's just an initial foray into the subject. We're hoping to return to it for a more substantial treatment next term. In any case, I'm glad our piece found its audience. That's always the hope with these things, you know. We typically only accept new members once per semester. There's this whole process with essays and presentations on assigned topics. But given that we have some extra seating at the moment, I guess we could be convinced to expedite an application or two.
Steban, you can't be serious. For these gendarmes?
I am serious. As materialists, we've got to adapt to conditions as they are. Besides, he'll still need to pass the interview portion of the entrance process. Assuming he's even still interested, that is. Sure, we're here most every night. Maybe we'll catch you again.
Sleep well, gendarme.
Put your hands where I can see them.
Show me your hands. This is the pigs. Show me your hands. Right now! Show me your...
Scavenged, battery-powered police lights protrude from her back. The flickering light show reveals a gun in her shaking hand. Her hand is trembling from some sort of neurodegenerative disease.
Madame, please drop the firearm immediately.
You shouldn't be here. Something's very wrong with her. She's completely out of control.
Failure to comply. Suspect is displaying aggression. Officer, under duress! Officer, under duress! I am the police. Don't move. Don't move. Hands on your head. Suspect is armed and dangerous. Lateral vascular neck restraint. Carotid sleeper. Carotid sleeper. Critically reducing blood from passing through the neck of the suspect.
Be careful, detective. Don't do anything that might set her off.
You'll have to go for the gun sooner or later. Perhaps you can learn crucial facts before you do.
Officer in need of assistance! Suspect at large! Get on the ground!
Ma'am, please. We want to help you, but you need to lower that weapon.
Disturbance reported. Authorized deadly force. Sector, take the shot! Big red key! Big red key!
Big red key? That's code for the battering ram. Cop talk. You know this.
It's a goddamn police shitbag! Hug the pavement! You're under arrest!
As she waves her hands, you notice familiar-looking ampoules and packets sticking out of the mountain of police gear on her back. Medicine or drugs?
Confiscated contraband! Restricted access! 2 kilos missing! Eyewitness report compromised!
I don't think she's on drugs. Being off drugs might actually be the problem here.
Back up! Back up! Back up! Status unconfirmed!
No, no. I thought Mr. Moran. Gareth!
Aggravated assault! Man down! Officers in pursuit!
There's a scenario unfolding in her head right now. It has nothing to do with what's happening here.
What's the situation, officer?
Law enforcement compromised! Impersonating a police officer!
Does she not believe you two are actually police officers?
License and registration! License and registration! Come in dispatch! Sector! Azimuth!
It's not a code, just disjointed words. She's losing it. One twitch and there will be blood.
We can't leave. A delirious civilian is pointing a firearm at us. Your firearm. You need to solve this.
She's frantic, confused, teetering under all that gear. There's an opening if you just move fast enough. If not, the lieutenant's got her in his sights.
Suicide back home. Split-second decision. Eat lead, scumbag.
God, I almost blew her head off.
What is this? This isn't police issue. Police weapons have bullets. This isn't real. Police guns always have bullets. What is this? Why did you sell me this?
Grab the gun, right now. This might be your only chance.
No one ever cares anymore. Why would they treat me like this?
This linden-headed machine of pain and undignified suffering is grinding to a halt. Tired of walking the desert, it doesn't want to feel or think anymore.
Poor woman. We need to figure out what to do with her now.
Nobody's ever around. Nobody ever comes to visit me.
Her scratched skin is warm to the touch, but the person inside doesn't even know you're there.
She's in a stupor. I've seen this before. God knows for how long. Could be days when they get like this. Honestly, I don't know. Dementia, probably. Dementia and Channel 8 and loneliness. Could be. Her hands were trembling and she did seem uncoordinated. But what are we gonna do with her? She's in a stupor. I've seen this before. Honestly, I don't know. Dementia, probably. Dementia and Channel 8 and loneliness. Yeah, looks like a bad case. But the question, I don't think there's any need for that. In her current state, and without the gun, she isn't really a threat to anyone. We could let Titus know. This is a perfect problem for the local peacekeepers to handle. They might even know her family. Then we can ask him once we get back to the whirling. But we have to hurry, because it's late and they might have already gone home. But I think we're done here for now. Let's head out. This is done.
Please, leave the radio on.
Reflex to what? Being left alone? She stands motionless. Just a heap of clothes and fleshes now. Maybe if you search her once more.
this one.